Welcome back to my podcast, D Spence Beats, and tomorrow is D-Day for South Africa. It will be June 30th, the deadline officially, and a lot of reports have said that thousands upon thousands of migrants have already left. They're taking the threat seriously, but of course, there are people who say they're not going anywhere. Some notable Somalians said the same thing. Some people from Malawi said the same thing. Don't know what to expect. I can only hope and pray there's no bloodshed. Again, the threat was actually taken seriously for the most part for what I've seen. But of course, you have outliers who are going to challenge the status quo and say, look, if you want to go to war, you can go to war. The people who are saying they want to go to war are not from that country. I'm not sure that they're legally or illegally, but they said they're not going anywhere. So, you know what that means? That means someone may lose their life. Because this threat has been so big that every news media has covered it. Typically when there's a issue like this, you might not hear about the conflict. If you remember the Congo versus Rwanda conflict, you had to go on YouTube to certain people reporting the issue, right? For the most part, the mainstream media over here in America did not cover it at all because narratives. They don't want you to know about that. And unfortunately, people only care about where the cameras are pointed. Because when the cameras are not pointed, it's like, oh, that has nothing to do with us. But for something this big and dangerous, potentially, I believe the whole world is kind of looking in at some point. Even if the mainstream media is not covering 24/7, I see some big name news actually paying attention. So I'm hoping tomorrow it will not be a humongous display of a loss of life. I'm hoping that the actual government does something to stay in place. Obviously, I would expect to see guards at certain point locations, especially through certain communities that are saying they're going to stay and fight if they have to. Well, we'll see. But this is Citizens Concern. Please follow her. She's from South Africa, actually in South Africa. And her perspectives I enjoy. I'll call her the South African Candace Owens. Very truthful, very direct, very simple and easy to understand. Let's see what she says.
Ladies and gentlemen, many people can't wait for June 30th. Not because June 30th foreigners will leave South Africa, but because they expect that one of the biggest issues we've kept mentioning on this channel is about to go nuclear. Do you remember us complaining about these images? Complaining about people taking stuff that is not theirs? Well, when it comes to the issue of illegal immigration, we have seen a new era of activism. Even long before the 30th of June, we have seen several activists harass foreigners, trying to rob them and in some instances take their stock. And why all of this? Because foreigners are easy targets right now. Recently, I saw this one.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Somali community. Jugta waxay ka bilaawatay Budget Room. Indhaha la furo raaci ugu horeeyay boqolkiiba 10 dukaamada ku yiil meesha location ku yiil boqolkiiba 10 ayaa la boobay.
So I understand the outrage, but there's a thin line between revolts and bullying. When people go around stealing things because they see other people doing this is bullying. This is not for a cause. This is monkey see, monkey do. And when I say monkey see, that's a general term. That's not a racial term. I'm talking about anyone. It could be a white community say the same thing. So I'm not calling anyone monkey. I'm saying that's the saying, okay? Be careful on these internet streets because people could take things out of context. I would say the same thing too when it comes to, let's say, July 4th weekend, right? It's monkey see, monkey do. People, why am I explaining myself? This internet gotta be paranoid. You know what the fuck I meant.
Our people, our fellow South Africans, simply entering a spaza shop to help themselves to whatever they wanted. I thought the mission was to see illegal immigrants leave South Africa, not South Africans taking what belongs to illegal immigrants.
Exactly.
I want you to think about it. What does it take to kick a person when they are down? What kind of person do you have?
It's different. You're trying to organize them to get out, but if you're stealing from them, there's no longer a cause. Now you're just being an opportunist. Like, for instance, the George Floyd riots in America, there were a lot of people like crashing malls and stores, stealing items, stealing medication, stealing clothes, stealing anything they could get their hands on, okay, in the masses. And again, monkey see, monkey do. They're doing it. I'm going to do it. That's just how it was. For some odd reason, a lot of people didn't see the problem with it. The problem is your cause disappears once you start breaking the rules unnecessarily. Understand, there are people who are opportunists, but that will taint the overall picture of what you're trying to do once you do things like this. In this case, it makes South Africa look bad. Your cause is being left out because of your greed.
Have to be to do that. This is very similar to what we see when a truck falls over and people loot whatever is in it instead of helping the truck driver. In a moment of desperation, where people in civilized communities would band together to help you, several South Africans have chosen to specialize in kicking you when you're down. I am against illegal immigration. I want us to protect our borders. I want us to have secure and impenetrable borders. I also know that the ANC is the reason our borders are so bad, and so it makes sense to me that I should vote for someone who is not the ANC and its babies. However, to others, it makes sense to protest against illegal immigration, to harass the immigrants, and yet keep voting ANC, EFF that are in support of illegal immigration. Does that make sense to anyone? I mean, how is that?
Makes sense to me. This is why watchers, me and her say the same all the time. It's not about the immigration part. Let's say here in America, for me, because I'm a son of migrants, I feel a little different because it's like, yes, my parents did it the right way. They did it the right way. Sponsorship, then got married, etc. Waited years, had to work off the books until they got their paperwork. But at the same time, I've met a lot of people who are migrants. They just want to earn more money, and they are not lazy. They are great citizens. They contribute. They stay out of trouble. So I'm in between right now because, again, and to my point, there are people who are migrants who are also against people coming in here illegally because, again, they did it the long and hard way. Here's my analogy. My analogy is, imagine you go to college, imagine you bust your ass for years and nights, and you're just starving, you're broke, you're stressed out, you got a heartbreak going on, and then someone comes and get your 4-year degree within 1 week. You're gonna feel a certain way. You're like, hold up, I sacrificed. They just got here and got the same degree I got. That's the analogy I use. That's how they feel. A lot of migrants who are here legally feel that way about illegal migrants. Okay, and I say all of them, but there's a mass pushback from the actual migrants who are actually here. If you remember when the migrants were here like 2 years ago, it was like, oh, the Spanish migrants, they're gonna be, oh, my abuelas, we can't let them go. And then they were so shocked when they'd be like, no, you could go, we don't want them here. You trying to escape them. So, you understand that? But I can understand the other perspective too. There's people out there who just want to work. But the people who come in and cause trouble, they mess it up for people like them. Okay, so the migrant situation, I understand both sides. But as far as borders and, it's tough because I know the law for the most part. Well, I also understand people. There's people out there who actually need it. There's people out there who are opportunists. Two different things. You could be an opportunist and not need it. You just want it more. And there's people out there who actually need it, people who actually want to work. Okay? Now, unfortunately, here in South Africa, there's people that actually want to work, but it seems like they can find the guy who was stealing. Now, of course, one person should not spoil the bunch, but this is how stereotypes work. And I guess the scarcity, am I saying it right? For all the jobs. Here's the thing about the scarcity about jobs. Sorry, I'm saying it wrong. South Africa, there's not a lot of jobs already. So their complaint is, hey, there's not a lot of jobs. The people who are hiring, of course, they're going to hire the illegal migrants because they're going to get paid less and complain less because they have less rights. So we're going to get undercut by the migrants. Undercut by default because they come more desperate. But at the same time now, I'm starving because of them. And because of the open border policy, there's no real enforcement. No one's doing nothing about it. So what? And then on top of that, I've seen videos of migrants being very disrespectful toward the locals. Very disrespectful and condescending to the locals who are on standby and waiting for the government to do something, and it never happens. As she says, the ANC is pro-migrants.
That different to a person mopping a room while the tap is open. But these are not the questions that you want to hear, right? You want to hear me simply support whatever is planned for June 30th. And to those who don't believe that many are simply looking forward to looting and not to the exit of illegal foreigners, I want you to please look at this video.
So itolo likadile khona nezabantu bokufika nezasemzansi
ezabantu bokufika ivaliwe noma ngabe ikhona ivaliwe
kodwa nazo negada kwesinye isikhathi
angizwanga baba
nazo negada kwesinye isikhathi itolo
itolo bafele siphinga ngithi zonke itolo lesiphinga zigadwe ithini siphingo sonke bafele inkulumo umZulu usazi isiZulu igoqele manje zonke itolo
zamaPakistan
This is Mario Ice. Why guarding your face? So it seems like there's a similarity was going on in America to over here. There's a similarity. Now keep in mind, I'm not the one to fall for clips. This clip is relevant, but I'm pretty sure there's a counter clip out there that's showing the other side to it. Do I think South Africans are wrong for trying to kick people out by force? Yes, but I'm pretty sure South Africa also feel like there's no other choice. They have a government party that's officially saying, please come, please come, please come. And I guess I'm assuming, this is just me putting my logic hat on. They're saying they feel suffocated. They feel like they can't take it anymore, so they're going to do something about it. That's not being intellectually lazy, okay? That's me saying, okay, it's easy for me to point the finger. Say, look, oh, they're wrong, point blank, period. But it takes some willpower to be like, okay, let's see the other side of the story.
akuhlangani nawe
Lungu kati intolo zamaPakistan
lalela ngisho ngiyafika
Pakistan lakho ufakela engqeni lelo ligadile
njengoba ekhuluma ngendaba yomhlaka 30 mfowethu nina ngomhlaka 30 mhlawumbe ikhona into esikuyafika kunina njengabantu abagade indawo lesiphingo mhlawumbe ukuthi khona into ekumele niyigade mangabe kwenzeka mhlawumbe ungaba necomment entene kanjalo
thina kukho kuthini bafo besidile nezitolo kuphela ukuthi benzani mfowethu asihlangene akani basha amakwelekwele imasha kaninjalo singalikho ikwelekwele sizolifikela
nikade amaPakistan
thina sikhathi itolo
ezani itolo nikade sibuza khona la ukuthi likhona yini ikwerekwere la ugade khona ezani itolo ikwerekwere likhona la ugade khona ezani lezi amaPakistan phela bheka ikwerekwere la
It may not be obvious, but do you see that those security guards are being hated for guarding shops? The way I see it, they get paid to protect shops, and some activists are furious that they are security guards to protect the shops from looters. When asked if they will also protect foreigners on June 30th, the security guards said no, they will not. And I guess it makes sense. There are security guards being paid to protect the stores and not necessarily the store owners. But here's something you might have missed. If there's no one intending to harm foreigners on the 30th of June, why then are these people angry at the idea
They are going to harm them. They're not going to be on some peaceful shit. The peaceful shit is before the 30th. So I damn well believe that they're going to try to harm somebody. Hopefully no one gets killed. Okay? Now, South Africans, if they want this to happen, understand, like, once you do this, the people out there are going to look at you differently forever. And I hope they understand that. Hopefully they are autonomous enough to not go anywhere else and be in South Africa. But hey, maybe they feel like there's no other choice. They have no choice. Maybe they feel like that's the only way they're going to be hurt is to use violence.
that these security guards may be intending on protecting foreign store owners on the day? If there is no one intending on looting shops owned by foreigners, why are they so furious that there are security guards planning on protecting the shops on the day? Did you see how angry they are at the idea that foreigners may be protected by the guards? The security guards had to clarify and say that they are not going to protect foreigners, but are employed to protect the shops. And a look into the comment section of this video shows that there are people who want blood. One suggested that the security guards be arrested for concealing their faces. Why do you want to see their faces? What do you want to do after seeing their faces? Huh? Guys, looking only at the comments, you can tell the cold and heartless mob mentality that is brewing. People are starting to talk as if these foreigners are not even human beings. It's very clear that the people leaving their comments are very angry. My question is, are they angry at the ANC and the EFF? No, they are mad at the people who came here due to the invitation and the laziness of the comrades. Instead of removing the comrades from positions of power to ensure that our country stops being flooded with illegal immigrants, our people vote for the same sources of the immigration crisis. Why do they keep voting for them? Well, because they were activists, of course. They were in the struggle against apartheid. So even if they bring the very problems that you're protesting about or against, you keep voting for them. I pray that the 30th of June may be a quiet day like we are being told, but anyone paying attention can see that there is an element of pure violence and chaos, the willingness to rob someone who's on the ground, fallen and desperate. It reminded me of the story of the Good Samaritan, that is, the good neighbor. We are in a country where the majority claim to be Christian, and yet look at the pleasure that we get from the suffering of those who don't identify with us or who we don't identify with. Yeah, ne? Anyway, that's it for today. Please share this video with...
All right, let's see what happens tomorrow. As a matter of fact, I'm not going to do that. Let's go to someone who I'm not confused. I'm surprised that he didn't jump on the narrative because he actually lives in Africa currently, and I like his video. He's making it very, 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 very broad from both sides. So that's what I checked. Let's see what this video said. I didn't see the video yet.
On May 25th of every year in the diaspora, there is something called Africa Day. It celebrates the brilliance and history of Africa. And I was introduced to this particular day by my good brother and mentor, Nii Adarabigbe, a brother who's from Nigeria that lived in Poland. He was the person that really introduced me into the African migrant community, or what you call the Afro-Polish community in Poland. And remember, I was living in a smaller city called Lublin, but he's the one that really started the Africa Day celebrations in 2019. He's also the person that brought in the Nigerian Independence Day celebrations, in which I also helped him with some finance and stuff like that. And to be honest, I loved working with the Black community in Poland. But it's now 2026, and that program has been picked up by somebody else. And this person is named Abraham Diamande. Now, funny story about this brother. I met him in Virginia when we were both on our way to the Medical University of Lublin, and he was my roommate in medical school. Very smart guy, Ivorian. Most of us left, but instead of practicing medicine, he stayed. And he picked up the mantle from Nii, and now he's running Africa Day celebrations. But once he tried to run the Africa celebration in Poland, it was a big pushback. And why was that? So this was a big thing on Twitter. And as you can see, this person here, Bozak, I don't know how to pronounce his first name. I think it's Krzysztof. He says, residents of Poland, what's wrong with you that you elect authorities who populate your beautiful city with foreigners?
So, as you can see, pushback from nationals to the migrants is not something new. It's not South Africa only, okay? We have it here in America. We have it here on a local level, on a national level, and this is another country with the same kind of concept.
Share as an initial post of a person that says Bruno Topola. And as you guys know, I lived in the city of Lublin. It's like my second home. I do kind of miss it there. But watch what he says here. In Lublin, the number of Africans is growing rapidly. They are already almost as many Africans in the city as there were in the whole of Poland 10 years ago. Do you understand that? Think about that. And it was changing when I got there, all right? And here's what a Ukrainian woman has to say about it. She's a city official in Lublin. Now, before I read that, Ukrainians and Polish people also have a little bit of somewhat of a beef because, as you know, Ukrainians came over into Poland the last 20 years as Ukraine was struggling. So that's a whole nother jar of bad worms there. But this is what the lady says. We're very pleased because from our conversations with them, we know they feel safe here. So you have a Ukrainian lady who's offering an opportunity to Africans, and the Polish people are not happy about it because she's now a city official. And now attention, Lublin will soon have its first black city officials. The first African woman, Esther from Kenya, has just arrived for an internship at the city office. We're very proud of Esther, says the Ukrainian official from Lublin, Victoria Harun.
Victoria.
W means V in Polish. Fun fact, in Lublin, for every 300 residents, there's already one African resident. Lublin is ready, declares the caption in this video, but ready for what? By the way, as the main argument for staying in Lublin, Africans cite safety. Now, when I was there, it was a lot of blacks coming into Poland because Poland is a big destination for international students. I went to the Medical University of Lublin and graduated, but there are other programs that Africans can come to, and it's largely cheaper than going to Dubai or France or something like that. And now what you're seeing is the Polish people are upset about the Africa Day celebration because right now there are more Africans in Lublin than it was in the entire Poland 10 years ago. And now the Africans are starting to get onto city council. Now, Abraham Diamande has never had any problems. He's like a French gospel singer. I mean, he speaks both languages, very talented guy. He would never cause any problems. But the Polish people do not like the fact that the Africans are celebrating their culture and history in Lublin City. Now, Lublin is a very progressive city, and it's trying to establish trade networks with the countries in question. They're trying to start relationships with Uganda. They're trying to start relationships with Kenya. They want to start a relationship with Nigeria, obviously because Europe is trying to get on the train too and develop with Africa. So the city of Lublin is trying to buy into it, but the Polish people don't want to buy into it. And this brings me to what's going on here in South Africa, because it might be very similar. A few days ago, I had an interview with my mentor, the brother that really put me on to the path that I am on today, as far as understanding the diaspora and working with African communities. It's a guy by the name of Niyi Adarabigbe. He's been a big force in the Afro-Polish community, helping out people. I mean, he doesn't get enough praise for what he does. He's helped me so much of my life. And we talked about something that relates to South Africans, and you might not guess what it is. Number one.
I like O'Shea Dujas. He pisses me off sometimes, but the fact that he's gonna tell you one perspective and in another video he'll tell you a whole different perspective.
If you have this division with a small group of blacks in Poland when you can't work together, you can almost infer with all these African migrants in South Africa that they're gonna have even a worse problem working together in South Africa. That doesn't change because you're in South Africa. If you can't work together in your own home country, When you come with other blacks, you're gonna have the same issues. What you don't realize is that when these African migrants come to Poland or South Africa, you think that it's the African migrants against the Polish, or it's the African migrants against South Africans. But what me and Nee talked about was the African migrants against the other African migrants. It always happened all the time. It was competition in between the groups there. You had so much beef between the Zimbabweans from the Shona tribe and the Ndebele's, and there would be fights where people would get hurt. This was in Poland, right? And when these beefs carried from Zimbabwe into Poland, it was your typical black on black crime. A lot of the crime that happened really wasn't against other Polish people all the time, as much as it was against themselves. And so when you look at these migrants in South Africa, so many of you say, oh, you know what the South Africans are doing to them is so bad. And that could very well be true. But what you're not talking about is the violence and the problems that the migrants have for each other. Do you think that the Congolese and the Malawians and the Ghanaians and the Nigerians all get along? No, that's not gonna be the case. You see, the African migrants are there for themselves. They are not there for the South Africans, and they are not there for the other Africans. The Congolese person is not there for the Malawian.
This
The Nigerian
motherfucker's
person
spitting.
is not there for the Ghanaian. So these beefs also happen in between themselves, and it's typically very toxic, although it's not widely talked about. And then I asked Nee a question about when something bad happens in the community, who gets the blame?
They see us all as the same.
Yes.
It paints everyone with the same brush.
But wait, there's more.
Communities that have stood up and able to counter such kind of narratives, they are communities that have the resources. We do not have the resources.
Okay.
And we don't have the resources to counter such kind of adverse media that also pulls down all of us. Now, I'll say this when it comes to all this negative news that pulls down everybody, we have to continue also to project the stories, the good stories that is happening within our community.
What he said was important. When somebody makes a mistake, let's say if you got Zimbabweans and they're having problems in South Africa between themselves, even if it doesn't affect South Africans directly, it does because it's crime. And then somebody has to go to the hospital, which is free, and that should be for somebody in the South African community or in the country. They're taking up a resource and they're creating a problem. You don't think about it like that, but it adds more physical weight and ideology to the damage. Then he says something that's important. We don't have the resources to combat the problems that there are in Poland. And let me give you the examples here. Well, guys, I was actually in the African community in Poland between Lublin and Warsaw. Some people knew me from my YouTube channel. Some people knew me personally. But I want to show you some of the things that were definitely happening in Poland when I was there. Here are just a few examples. Look at this. Polish man brutally attacked by Zimbabwean immigrant.
Are y'all seeing a trend? So this is not just a South African problem, okay? Obviously, I'm keep saying it over and over and over because I know how headlines go. Whatever has the right size typography, whatever's repeated more than once, people tend to believe it. It doesn't have to be true. It's just repetition. Prior example. This year, I've heard the word fascist so many times. I've never heard the word that much, but I would assume it's been a concerted effort from the media company to run that word so much that it became a part of people's vernacular. Or am I saying lexicon? I'm off today. Am I right? I'm about to look up these damn words. My words are off today. I'm assuming the lexicon. So fascist. I've never really heard that word before until this year. And they said it so much so often, it's like, damn, that word just pops in my head once in a while. The same thing can be applied when it comes to media tactics. They take one angle, it's called a framing technique, and they constantly run the same story over and over and over. They get other people to say the same story in a different angle. And don't forget some emotion, put some emotion a part of it. Hey, you gotta get some story, and guess what? It could all be a lie. But because people still haven't figured out that the media, for one, can lie, they don't understand discernment You can hear someone, take what they're saying with the information, right? And still do your research. I already knew about Poland and the Zimbabwean immigrant. I did a whole research before this video, actually, and to see has there been any migrant problems within Africa, Europe, and Poland didn't pop up. I'm not gonna take this video for face value, even though it's easy to. It's very easy to, but you can follow up your research based on the theme of the video you're watching. So again, migrant issue is not new, and it's not specific to South Africa. South Africa is not the only one who said get them the fuck out, wasn't it? Well, last year Ireland, they were trying to say get the damn Muslims out the country. So they already demonstrated that they're willing to fight for it.
Here we see Poland for detained in Lublin over organized internet fraud. In Lublin, guys, it's not even the...
I know in South Africa they're saying that the Nigerians keep doing sex trafficking and they're doing fraud. So Nigeria was the first group of people who I heard that South Africa don't want the country. It wasn't just South Africa. It was Dubai, the same thing. It was another like 2 or 3 or 4 countries been saying the same about Nigerians, okay? So, but everybody wants to pick on South Africa.
The biggest city. It's like the 7th or 8th biggest city. Police from eastern Poland have detained 4 Nigerian citizens suspected of organized internet fraud, okay, from the Lublin police. That's another one. Here's another person. Polish cybercrime units arrest suspect in international online fraud and email scams. This also happened where? In the city of Lublin. Now, guys, I could go way further and go to the bigger cities like Krakow or Warsaw, but for now, these are just some of the things that are happening since I left, and this was going on when I was living in Poland from 2016 to 2022. Now, these crimes are still going on after I left. These crimes were happening when I was there. It was a known fact about the money laundering from the Nigerians, the problems from the Zimbabweans. It was a problem. Nee and I hate to even admit this, we would try to see how can we stop this stuff from happening.
Outside the crime, not trying to make excuses for the Zimbabweans, but yes, the locals can cause issue with the migrants too. Okay, so before I'm like trying to say, oh, these migrants are causing problems, some of these migrants do come in just to work, and sometimes the locals try to bully them too. So just letting you know, both sides exist.
Not that it was happening all the time, every day, but it happened enough that it really put a focus on the community that we were trying to actually build with other Africans. You know, I was putting up my money and I was making a lot of money back then. He would ask me, hey, can you help me sponsor this? I just give it to him because it was a lot of Africans that were going through stuff. They would go to clubs and they would sometimes largely get attacked or hit or beat up by some of the people. And I was trying to stop those things from happening. But the one thing that I could not stop, or we could not stop, was how people perceived all of us when it happened. And this whole idea of other Africans who got a problem in saying that South Africans are xenophobic. If there's anybody that can be xenophobic, and it's still wrong to be xenophobic technically, but when you are a resident of that country, you have more of a right to defend your territory against people that you feel are not adding value. And this is the problem with the Africans that disagree what's going on. Let me ask you Africans, can I come into your house, make mistakes, not follow rules? Let's say me and my family come into your house. It's 8 of us, and I don't follow your rules. Me, do you say you can leave, but your other people can stay? No. You know what you tell me? You get your stuff and get all of your kids and your mama and them and get out of my house. But I can come back and say, well, my family didn't do nothing. Why can't they stay? No, all of y'all got to get out. That's how all of y'all would play it. And you know you would play it like that. But see, the issue is that when you start having documented problems everywhere in the world, you hardly have anybody to blame but yourself. And I lived in Poland. I saw it. I saw the Afro-Polish communities between Bydgoszcz and Krakow and Warszawa, which is Warsaw, how we say it, in Lublin. I saw it firsthand. I saw the fights. I saw Neeb asking me, yo, do you have somebody to spare so I can go and get this lady who's in prison, some Kotex because she don't have anything. I ain't no lady. Yeah, here you go. I was there. See, y'all don't understand that's what he was doing. He used to always have to come out when some African got in trouble, and it was lots of Africans getting in trouble all the time. Then you want to come back and go, well, that's not all of them. To somebody else, it is all of them. You got to live in the real world. And so many of y'all don't live in the real world. If black Americans come to
This motherfucker spit.
Africa and you have many problems, all of us will get problems. Why don't y'all understand that? Where's y'all's accountability? And I hate to say this, but
And to be honest with you, like for me, right, I'm gonna tell you my problem. I'm a tall black man with muscles, bald head, and I'm out of shape. So I look more intimidating than I typically would if I was in shape. My whole life I've been trying not to be a walking stereotype. Meaning, like, of course I can't hide the way I look, but the way I act in public, I always try to look out for the other black man by acting a certain way because I understood human psychology. Anyone who looks similar to me, the memory in your brain is gonna say, you know what, the last person I saw do this, they acted like that. So because this person sounds, looks, dresses similar, they might be doing the same exact thing. Is it right? Debatable. But that's how the human works. That's literally the human brain. Of course, a few elevated people may understand, like, hey, this person may not be what he appears to be. I'm going to give him a shot. But most people are not going to give you a shot depending on their experience. Let's say if someone saw someone like me and I saved their life. Right? I saved their life. So the next person they may see, they'll be like, you know what? He reminds me of this person right here. I'm going to give him a shot. And that person might be a damn psycho killer. But that's just how the human mind works. It's off experiences. It's off stereotypes. It's off lived experience. I'm not going to use the word haphazardly because I'm going to say it wrong. It's from, the group experience. It's about, like, hearsay, personal experience. It could go rather really good or really bad. That's just how the human mind works. So because I always knew this, I had this monkey on my back. I have this chip on my shoulder. Like, I have to not fall into that stereotype because I need to look out for my other brother. Because if I do a good job, they're going to give the other person who looks like me a chance. That's just what I always knew. And stereotyping sucks. But guess what? I get stereotyped by other black people too. I live and run to nothing but black people. So, unfortunately, I have the aesthetic of someone who they were deemed as aggressive or dangerous because of my aesthetic. And my personality is nothing how I look. Nothing like how I look. But it is what it is. But people will tell me to get over it. Right? Just accept it. That's all we just accept it.
if Africans are getting a bad rap worldwide, it's that lack of accountability that y'all are missing. There's a reason why South Africans don't want to be African no more. Some of them. There's a reason why Black Americans are saying what they say. Some of them. And y'all want to just dismiss it like somebody is crazy. No, ain't nobody crazy. All you got to do is Google where certain pockets of Africans are at and see if they don't have the same exact problems. Now, they do have successes, but your problems always outweigh your successes when you're in somebody else's turf.
He ain't lying.
And that's the main idea of it all. And I know folks are going to be upset. Folks are going to be mad. But I can tell you like this. I know that you mad, but it's not my...
This motherfuckers. Yo, it's O'Shea. Let me find out. Because O'Shea be hating on my boy Anton Daniels. And I don't like that shit at all. I be hating on O'Shea. But because of this...
Me people, I've been watching the propaganda being pushed across Africa to separate South Africa from the rest of the continent. And honestly, I don't understand why more people are not speaking about this, right? As a foreigner who has lived in South Africa for 17 years, I believe that I'm qualified to speak on this issue, right? And I suspect that many foreigners will also agree with me on this one. Yes, things are tense today, right? Yes, there are serious problems here, but it was not always like this.
Uh-oh. Okay. All you South African haters out there, I want y'all to, he about to start building it up. Y'all might have to start apologizing.
Check out O'Shea Jackson. This is his Kinganda channel. Check him out. Let's pray for South Africa. Hopefully, oh shit, it's literally the 30th right